I feel like I'm this dream builder, right? And I get to help people find themselves, help people not be afraid to fail, help people, the architect, they take the vision of the person who building something and they sketch it out. They go back and forth and they add pieces and they take it out and they do that. I believe that's what I am, a people architect.
From Fiore Communications, it's How I Got Here, a show of inspiring stories from Tallahassee area leaders, business owners, and neighbors, all the challenges, opportunities, inspirations, the twists and turns of life that led them to where they are today. Everyone has a story worth telling, and I am really grateful that we get to bring a few of them to you. I truly have been changed by my conversations with these amazing people, and I'm confident you will be too. I'm Dave Fiore, and in this episode, I speak with Dr. Judy Mandrell, pastor, community builder, and popular radio host. Raised in Fort Lauderdale, Judy has been on a lifelong mission to use every available resource to impact those around her. Examples include organizing a student walkout to protest unfair treatment at her recently desegregated high school, giving away her sister's clothes, without their knowledge, to girls in need, and once even using a freezer full of freshly butchered beef to entice a crowd across town to listen to her faith story. Today, Judy's influence has grown to include the church she co-pastors with her husband Gerald, a large radio audience listening to Real Talk with Judy, and the very popular Sister Girls Network that brings women together to encourage and give them hope. For this owner of more than 520 pairs of glasses, there's much more than meets the eye. We began our conversation talking about growing up in South Florida.
Growing up, I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. My mom and dad, my dad was the first black sheriff with the Broward County Sheriff Department.
Okay.
My mom owned her own child development center for 45 years. She just retired about 3 years ago at the age of 80.
Wow.
She retired. Right?
Well, she probably had generations of kids then, right?
She did.
Yeah.
She has several senators now, business owners, House of Representatives. I mean, she has so many people who left her daycare, who was there from babies on. They even named the street after her.
Wow.
The Irma Hunter Wesley Boulevard. And so we're excited about that. But growing up in Fort Lauderdale was real good. People got along. Our street, our house was the community house where all of the children came to play. We really thought we was rich. My brother and sisters and I, we thought we were rich. My dad and mom took us on a vacation every summer. We went out every Friday to eat. So we really thought that we were rich. Right. Education was real big with my mom and dad. They wanted us to get an education. They taught us to be leaders. They taught us to be leaders. And they taught us to be followers. They taught us if we win, we win. But if we don't come in first place, we still win. But we celebrate whoever won. And so growing up there was good. The part, and I'm glad for this lesson, my class integrated a high school called South Plantation High School.
Okay.
We were not happy about going to South Plantation High School.
So did you have to go far away from where you lived?
Yes.
Okay.
They bused us about 7 miles from where we lived. And at first it seemed like it was going to be okay. But then it turned out not to be too good. And it really wasn't the students. It was the teachers. Samantha Bird and I became best friends. Samantha Bird, and I'm using black and white just to make a point. It's not that important. But Samantha Bird and I became the best of friends. She was a white girl. Her dad was a judge. Her mom was an attorney. We took French together. And I'm going to tell you, and I'm going this route because I want to tell you what I did. We took French together. Mm-hmm. She would always get an A. I would always get a B. But I was better than her in French. We studied together.
Right.
And we knew that I was better. But she always got an A, always got a B. She came up with a plan on our next test. She put her name on my paper, on my test paper, and I put my name on her test paper. She received an A. I received a B. We went to the principal, and we told him the lady's prejudice. And Samantha she went on. She was like my attorney. She was my attorney, and I felt real good. But because of that, they moved the teacher from French, and I don't know where they put her. But we received another teacher, and both of us got A's. And
were you treated differently in class? I mean, did you feel like she had a prejudice, or?
Yeah, we felt like it. I could raise my hand, Dave, and it'd be the longest before she would call on me. And Samantha would say, "Don't you see Judy hand? Did you see Judy hand or not?"
Right.
And I'd say, "Yeah, my hand been out for about an hour." I'm, exaggerating, of course.
Yeah.
But it taught me a lesson. This is what I did. I organized a walkout.
Okay. In high school?
In high school. And I got that from watching, Angela Davis and all of that. But we wanted to be peaceful, and we had a goal. The goal was to say, when it was all done, that all of us are created equally, and we should be treated the same. Samantha Bird, mom, helped us organize it. She was an attorney. And she helped us organize it. And she said she would represent us if we got in trouble. And I forgot.
So there were white students who stood with you, right?
A lot of white students, Dave. A lot of white students. A lot of Hispanic students. And just about all of the blacks from 9th to 12th grade.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was huge. Yeah.
I know you said that comes from your parents, but some of that's inside of you. I mean, where did that come from? I mean, it sounds like from the beginning, you were determined to make a difference and not just kind of go with the flow, but make sure things were right, like kind of a social justice thing built into you a little bit.
And I really do believe that come from my mom and dad. And I'm going to tell you, when we were growing up, Dave, we had so many people in our house. Like the children on the block, and a lot of people would come over. Can we borrow butter? Can we borrow sugar? Can we borrow flour? And if my parents were home, we always gave it away. But what we saw, my mom and dad would give it away.
Right.
If the neighbors came and asked, they gave it away. My mom, her daycare, everybody there was low income. All of her children that she served was low income. Her employees either worked with her for 45 years, 42 years, 43 years. And a lot of her employees was low-income women. But she made them get their GED if they didn't have it. She made them get their director's license for the child care. I mean, she made them. And they didn't hardly ever take off. She wouldn't allow them to take off because she didn't take off.
Right.
Right. And so, but we saw her, David, we saw my parents, my mom take her St. John suits, which was very expensive, and her knit suits and bury women in. We saw her do that. We saw her take her jewelry. We saw them do that. We saw my dad and mom get up and help folks, people who didn't have food, children who didn't have school clothes for the new year. We saw, they asked us one time, they said, we're going to buy you all, not as much as we buy you, because we want to buy a couple of other families and my sister who lived in Scotland said, that don't seem fair to me. Why should we suffer? And she said, you're not suffering.
Yeah.
But they taught us that. And my dad told me when I was 6 years old, he said, Judy, you have the gift of faith. And I said, well, what does that mean? He said, that means that you trust God for anything. Whenever I saw somebody living less fortunate than my family, they was just something in me that said, you got to help them come up. You have to help them come up. I was like, how am I going to do it? And I was taught to myself like that, And I told my mom, my dad said I was about 7, and I told them I'm going to be an evangelist, and I'm going to save the world. I'm going to save everybody. I had a scholarship now if I would have known better, I would have, but I had a scholarship at FAMU for a full ride in the School of Business.
Right.
But I felt like I needed to go be a social worker. Because if I know what I know now, I would have gone to the School of Business and learned a lot. And took social work as a minor.
Sure. Yeah.
So
To use those principles of building. So after you graduate, you spend, then was your job at Florida Department of Children and Families, was that your first job out of school? Or did you do something in between?
My first job out of school day, my husband and I got married, and no one would hire me.
So you got married while you were still in school?
As soon as I graduated in May of 81. We got married in October of 81.
Okay.
I often tease him. I left my mama house and my daddy house to come to your house. I came straight to your house. I ain't have no free time. I came straight to your house. But then we got married. We moved to Tampa for 6 months.
Okay.
Then we moved back to Tallahassee. When we came back to Tallahassee, I'm putting in applications everywhere, but no one would hire me. You know,
in social work related or just any kind of job?
First I was going with the state to get in social work.
Right.
And then it's like, no one would hire me. So Mother D.K. Richardson started an adult daycare center and she just had older people with different handicaps. And so she had me to work for her.
Okay.
I realized quickly that wasn't my field.
Yeah.
So I left and I was hired. My first job was at Bond Elementary School. They created Bill Johnson was the principal at the time. I forgot who the superintendent was, but that was in 1983. And they created a position for me. And my job was to work with students who were very active in class or had bad behavior.
Okay.
And they made me an office in the library. And so they would all come to me. It was in 1985, I think. I finally got hired with the state. I went for an interview, and the lady who hired me, she told me the reason why she hired me because I looked like a missionary.
What does a missionary look like? I guess like you.
I guess like me, right?
Yeah.
But I had on a navy blue. I never forget. I had on a navy blue suit. The skirt was long, right to my ankle, and I had on some heels. And she said I just looked like a missionary to her, so that's why she hired me. My first job with the state was answering the phone and making appointments to people to ride the Big Ben bus to their medical appointment. That's me with a bachelor's degree, right?
Yeah.
And
that had to have driven you crazy.
But I took it, right? And I want to share this. I went to Sears to get for an interview.
Yeah.
And the guy, he brought me in, he interviewed me, and he said, I'm not going to hire you. I said, well, why did you interview me? He said, because I have a high school education and you're a college graduate from FAMU. I said, really? He said, yep. I just wanted to bring you in here. He said, I'm a white man, and I just want you to know that I'm still above you. I said, really? In my mind, I don't curse. I hate cursing with a passion. But in my mind, it was like I was cursing him. I was using every curse word in my head, I believe. And I just said, thank you, sir. He said, you're welcome. And when I left out of there, and I often speak about my parents because they really had a great impact on my life. I left out of there. I called my dad. I said, Dad, you know what just happened to me? And I told him. He said, well, suck it up, Judy. That's the way life is. He said, you're gonna run across people like that. He said, not just white men who think they're better than you. It's gonna happen in all races. He said, unfortunately, that's how some people are. And he said, suck it up and keep going. So I called my mom because I wanted to hear something else. And I called my mom. And
you weren't satisfied with your
dad. I wasn't
dad's
satisfied with my dad's
answer.
answer. And I called my mom. My mom said, well, Judy, it's okay. One day you're going to go back, and who knows, you might have to help him.
Yeah.
She said, and you just make sure you don't ever get to that point that you bring somebody in your presence because you think you're better than them. She said, so go do another interview somewhere. I said, okay. And so I went back to that store, Sears, maybe about 2 months later, and he was gone. The supervisor came in, and because I asked for him, and then I asked for one of the managers. I said, man, I see one of your managers. And she said, we fired him. She said what he did not know is that we heard him. And she said, ma'am, I'm so glad you came back. She said, I am so sorry. She said, do you still need a job? I said, no, ma'am. I really came back to tell him that I was hired with the Leon County School Board. I said, that's what I really came back to tell him. And to tell him, I think, that there's some good in him somewhere. And as we talked, the manager started crying.
Right.
But
because it's easy, like in the Bible, it's easy to love people who are nice to you.
Yeah.
It's hard to love people who are not nice to you.
yeah.
So you worked for Leon County. So you worked at Bond. That's what you were talking about for Leon County Schools at Bond.
Yeah, Bond Elementary School.
Right. And then you left that job to work for Children and Families at some point?
I went down to, I worked in Quincy. All of my time with Department of Children and Family was with in Quincy.
Okay.
And first it was called Department of Human Resource before they changed it to the Department of Children and Families.
Right.
And I worked in the medically needy part first. And when the lady hired me to take appointments for people to ride the bus,
right.
I felt like, what? And she gave me a nice little office and everything. I said, okay. And then she said, and I hired you so you could get your foot in the door. She said, you're going to go up, but your personality and everything. And I had so much fun, Dave. I would laugh with those people.
Yeah.
And then I started working for medically needy when AIDS was just coming out. So a lot of the people who came in needed medical help through the medically needy program. And I never forget, this one man came in, he had sores and pus and everything coming out of him. He had AIDS. He had full-blown AIDS. And he came in, he made an appointment to see me, and so the receptionist up front, she told me, Judy, there's a man here, he got full-blown AIDS. What you want me to do? Send him out? Because you're the next counselor to see him. I said, really? I said, no, send him in. She said, you're going to see him? I said, yeah, why not? Why not? I said, Jesus healed the lepers. Maybe he'll come in my office and I'll heal him. Right? And he came in, he sat in the chair, and he had this look on his face, this hopeless look on his face. And I was like, hey, what's up, man? He was like, nothing much. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, I have full-blown AIDS. If you want me out your office, I'll leave. I said, no, you can sit in that chair. I said, I'm in my chair, so let's get you some help. And he went on. Then he started crying. And he told me what he had done, and he believed, why he had it and all of this kind of stuff, and how God had cursed him for being a sinner. And he just went on and went on. I said, you missing one part of that cursing. He said, what? I said, God sent Jesus to forgive us, man. And he looked. He said, yeah, but how a Christian believe. I said, I'm a Christian. I said, you're sitting in my office, and I'm going to help you. We're going to get you some medical help. So I don't care what you've done. I said, because it ain't just whatever you done. I said, me too, man. I mean, come on. I said, right. God forgave me. I said, he's going to have to forgive me the rest of my life, I'm sure. I said, there's going to be some things that I do or say. I said, let's get past that. Let's get you healed. Let's get you some help. I said, okay. And he cried and he cried. I said, okay, but I got to get out of here because my supervisor's going to come in a minute. She's going to say, you been in here with that. But she wasn't going to do that. That's Suzanne Maxwell. She was one of the best supervisors ever. And we got him help.
Yeah.
And to this day, he's still alive.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of many stories. But he was the first person I ever. And when he left, I did have to. They threw away the chair that he was sitting in because it wasn't.
At that point, people didn't completely understand it.
Yeah. I felt like God wasn't going to allow me
right.
to get A's or anything else because I was helping his people. And to this day, I do things and go places because I feel like God had called me to help people. Now, right. I don't tempt them and put them in crazy. Like, I'm not going to go out in no shootout and say, God is going to help me. No, I'm going to stay home. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to go out in front of an 18-wheeler guy. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But at the same time, I believe that with wisdom and much prayer, I believe anybody I help, they're not going to harm me. Because that's what I believe. And so I stayed in Quincy, medically needed. Then I started working for the Department of Children and Families. I started there as a protective service counselor. My responsibility was to go in the home, set up case plans, make sure things was working for the children, make sure the families had what they need to be successful.
Right.
That's where I am today. Everything that I learned in those 20-some years with the Department of Children and Families, I really implement them. Everything I learned at home is what I put in place on my case plans with my parents, because my mom worked a lot with single parents. So I was able to do that. And they would say, you make it hard for us. No, you're a parent. I believe, Dave, the first place of influence is in the home. So my foster parents that I worked with, they knew that Judy Mandrell wasn't playing. You had to make sure these children had it. And they had to be able to come home and eat a snack. And they didn't have to ask you if they wanted a snack, because this is their home. They could go in that refrigerator and get it.
Right.
And I learned that from my mom and my dad. They say anything in this house belongs to y'all.
Now, I read somewhere where, going back to that time, that you would not only help do food and stuff, but you'd actually take like your mom's clothes, your siblings' clothes, and hand those out to people?
I would, Dave.
Now, I imagine that would cause some problem at home, at least with your siblings at some point.
Yeah, they weren't happy. Judy, we know it's you. We know it's you. We can't find this. We can't. I'm like, but so-and-so. So my dad had a cow killed, right? Butchered, whatever you call it.
A what?
A cow.
A cow?
Yeah.
Oh, he had a cow butchered.
Butchered.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So big hunks of meat.
Yeah.
You gave away some of his meat?
No, not some.
All of it?
All of it. And I took it to the project.
You just started handing out.
And I told them I was going to bring it, right? Boy, they was in a line, but they had to.
So how old are you at this point?
I was 16.
Okay.
16, 16. But I just felt like, oh, wow. And I saw him put all that meat in the deep freezer. I was like, okay.
Wrapped in butcher paper and probably marked what it was.
He did, and the date and everything.
Yeah.
I put them in a pillowcase. Got in my car, drove over to the project. Because I've always wanted to be a public speaker. I see myself speaking all over the world.
Right.
To the thousands of people. I've taken public speaking and Toastmasters, because I just see myself just, and at FAMU, Dr. Evans was my public speaking instructor. And I took her for 4 years. And she said, you're gonna be with me? I said, every year I said, Dr. Evans, I'm gonna speak all over the world. And I want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. And she said, I believe you. So in the project, they just had to listen to me.
Before they got the hunk of meat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I told them that I said, I am a worldwide speaker. And they would clap. They would.
So what are you talking about? What are you telling them?
I was from even a child, I was telling them, well, first of all, I said, everybody need to be saved. You got to give your life to the Lord. How many of y'all going to be saved?
So you're being an evangelist first?
Yeah, I was being and then I started talking about, because I started reading all of these books about leaders. I like to read biographies. Mm-hmm. And then I would tell them, you're going to, Harriet Tubman, and I want everybody in here to be free. You will not be living in the projects all your life. You're going to get homes, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. And they listened, and they clapped. They were listening because they wanted what I had to give, right? And I didn't care. I had an audience, and I was practicing. Well, I gave out all the food. I gave out my mom clothes, her jewelry. Gave out my sisters. My dad went in one night.
Looking for some brisket.
And he was
there's nothing there.
My mom's name is Irma. He screamed, Irma! Irma! And my mom come running out the room. I'm in the den. My brother and my sisters, all of us run, because we didn't know what had happened. He said, where's the meat? Where is the meat? My mom looked.
She knew it was you, right?
My brother said, he was like, Dad's going to kill him. He's going to kill her. And so at that point, he said, Judy, let's go in the den. Let's go in the den. He said, we don't know what Dad talking about. He said, did you get that meat away? I said, Chico, I took it over to the project. He said, Dad gonna kill you. He is gonna kill you. But he didn't. He just went in the room, got in the bed. And my mom came in the den and said, Judy, did you give away all that meat? I said, Mom, you should have seen it. I said, there was like hundreds of people out there. And I was talking and they was listening to me. And then she said, they only was listening because they want the food. I said, no, they was listening because I had something to say.
Right.
She said, why do you do these things?
Yeah.
And I said, because y'all taught me to do this. Yeah. This is what y'all taught us. She went back in the room. A few days later, my dad kept talking. Well, no. A few days later, he said, Judy, you can't give away the stuff we buy, the stuff we bring in this house, because when you do that, you're taking it from here. He said, I spent over $3,000 to get that cow and to butcher it and to get it. I said, wow, we gave away $3,000 worth of food? I said, I told him to come from me and my family. And after a while, I started understanding. And I think I did that. I don't think. All of this happened, Dave, because I really felt we were rich. Mm. I really did. I felt like we were a rich family.
And you would just replace it. If you gave it away, you would just get more.
That's what I felt like. Yeah. I felt like it would be a problem. It was not going to be a problem. I felt like anything I gave away, they'll get more because we always had.
All right, well, let's circle back around to your husband, Gerald, and tell that story a little bit. How did you meet? And
we actually met at church.
You met at church?
We both
here
attended
in Tallahassee?
Here in Tallahassee,
okay.
Watson Temple Church of God in Christ. We both attended FAMU. He was a pharmacist major. I was a social work major. I didn't like him because I thought he was a nerd. I thought he was just a nerd.
Why? What was nerdy about him?
The way he dressed, and he was so smart, and he had dry humor, and the glasses. He was just a nerd, and I wanted this.
What were you looking for?
I like guys who were tall, super dark, and you've seen Gerald. Gerald's super bright, and but dark, athletic. Like my brother. My brother was cool and all that kind of. Gerald to me was not cool.
So you wanted some big, physically intimidating, strong, manly man kind of guy.
Yes, sir. And he wasn't. He was manly, but super smart, and all of that. And he didn't like me either. He thought I was wild, crazy, loud. So we were
true, right?
Pretty much. Oh, so you think that too, huh, Dave?
Well, not the crazy part. But so you weren't a natural love at first sight kind of story.
Neither one of us. No. But what happened, I've always wanted a man who was smarter than me. Because I knew I was smart.
Who could challenge you, right?
Yeah, I had to have that. And I wanted a man who loved God more than he loved me. Because I figured if he loved God that much, he could put up with me, right? And I wanted a guy who loved his mom. That was very important to me. And he was all of those things. I fell in love with his intelligence, the way he loved God, the way I saw that he cared for his mom. So
how did he get you to agree to go on a date? Or how did that first time together work out?
I'm going to tell you what happened. We were all swimming right at my apartment complex, a whole lot of us. He had on some swim shorts. Now, I know your audience is going to probably be, who is this crazy lady?
So, I do want to know where this story goes. So
now you want me to go on right here? He had on some swim shorts.
All right.
Dave, he had the prettiest thighs. And his legs, I didn't know he was bow-legged in one of his legs. I was like, oh my God, that is gorgeous. In them swim shorts, and when he stood up, his body, it was like, I was like, he is so fine. And with us, Dave, that means, yeah, that guy is the bomb. And that's how I felt, right?
Right.
And I told some of my friends, and then one day we all went to eat and stuff, and then he just said, hey, you want to go somewhere we went? I said, sure. I had a dream that he and I got married. I told Gerald the dream. Gerald moved to Tampa and got engaged to somebody else. We broke up. So I started dating this other guy. Gerald came back to a function, And he and I stopped back talking, and he said, "Everybody going to the movie, you want to go?" But deep down within, I think I fell in love with him for real. And so I told the other guy, "I'm gonna go to the movie, but then you got to wait home." And he didn't have a car. Gerald had a car, and he had already graduated from FAM.
And he's living in Tampa
at this point. And so we started talking again. We started dating. And then he asked me to marry him. I think it was in January or February. I said yes. He asked me, he was in Tampa.
Yeah.
And he called and he said, and we talked, and I said yes. And the rest is history. So we're now almost 42. We just completed 41. But the next day, I always say 40, we're going on the next year. Because we're not getting divorced at all.
Yeah.
So, and we had a baby. She in 1988. She lived for 3.5 hours. And I lost half the blood out of my body when I had her, and it was a hard loss.
Yeah.
But Gerald was like, "You don't have to have any more children, Judy. That was hard." And I haven't had any more biological children. Carolyn Waddell, who everybody see with me a lot, I believe God gave her to us as a daughter. Yeah. We have 16 godchildren. And so that's what that's
a family for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey everybody, just a quick reminder that this episode is brought to you by Fiore Communications. Just like people, every business has a story to tell, and we've been helping our clients tell their story since 2001, because who you are as a company is just as important as what you do. To learn more about how telling your story can make a difference in your business, visit fiorecommunications.com. Thanks again for listening. Now back to the show. So now we're going to move into, well, I want to ask you this. So you and Gerald, you're married, but you're also partners in ministry.
Yes.
So tell us about that a little bit. What is it like? And we'll get into the church. Well, we can get into the church now. Let's talk about you. You're both pastors, right? At Life Changers Church of God in Christ. Tell us about that, how you got involved in that, and what it's like to, minister together in such a public and profound way in your church.
We started at Watson Temple Church of God in Christ. We both became Christians there. I was brought up in the Church of God in Christ all my life. Gerald said he was not brought up in church, but his mom or grandmother was Methodist. No, his dad was Methodist.
Okay.
But he didn't hardly go to church or anything until he came up here in Tallahassee. And so we both started working in the ministry at Tallahassee. I became a preacher, accepted my calling in 1979, and he became a preacher. He gave his life, became a Christian in February the 3rd, 1978. I can't ever forget it because he said that's his birthday, right? And so we just started doing ministry at Watson Temple. We became over the Sunday school department, the prayer. We worked with the collegiate ministry. I was one of the advisors and the drummer. I played drums from age 12 about 30.
That's awesome. I'm a drummer too. I played at my church for a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
That's
Dave,
awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So doing some of that, the Lord had showed me that Gerald's going to start a church. I wrote everything down. And I think the only person I really shared it with was my grandmother. My grandmother had a great influence in my life as well. She's from Apalachicola.
Okay.
My mom is from Apalachicola. And but she had a great influence. I showed it to her, and she said, "Baby, that's going to come to pass one day." She said, "In the meantime, just hold it." My church didn't believe in women doing a lot, like pastoring and all that kind of stuff. So when the Lord led Gerald to talk to our pastor about what he was doing, I already knew it. And I knew that I was going to be 100% supportive of him because I believe that the Lord put Gerald and I together for ministry and just to help people, period.
Right.
I believe that because his heart is so given. As we got married and started dating and married, we realized that we had so much in common. He calmed me down a lot, being married to him. I'm still,
You're still Judy.
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate about him, Dave.
Yeah.
He allowed me to be Judy, even in ministry. So at a time when we started, women didn't have a lot of leadership role in the church, especially as pastors.
Right.
But that's what he wanted me. And Kenneth and Helena Barrington here in the city was the only husband and wife team that we saw that was so effective and work ministry. They became like our mentor, but also spiritual parent. Helena became like a spiritual mom to me. That's way before we got married, because I was smoking weed at one time, Dave. Can you believe that? Smoking weed at one time.
Wow.
And she came when I was probably high as a Georgia pine tree. And in the midst of that, she spoke, not where I was. She just told me, God created you, and you're going to be powerful. And you're this mighty woman of God. And from the day of your birth, he has covered you. He placed you in your home so you can get all of that training. And your mom has taken you to church and da-da-da. And you're going to be to the nation. I'm saying to myself, did this lady know that I'm about as high as I don't know what? And she kept talking to my future.
Yeah.
So Gerald and I, when we started the ministry, he respected what the Lord had called me to do.
Right.
And so, and I respect him as the leader of our congregation. I honor him as our pastor. And whatever the Lord gives to him, my desire and my prayer, Dave, is always, God, help me to help him make this happen.
Right.
But his vision and his dream of what God gave to him is everything that I'm doing. Everything that God has gifted me to do is all of Gerald's vision, and we write it until he sees it. And once he see it, that is it. So it make ministry easy. We have never had a fault, a fight. It's never been, well, and if I disagree with something he said, I wait till I get home. The congregation has never seen me disagree with him, right? And even when I talk to him, it is with a lot of respect and honor. Number one, he's my husband. Then he's my pastor. But number one, he's my husband. And I've been taught that by my mom. You honor your husband. That's what I teach to all the people that I know. My sister Carolyn, you'll hear me call her daughter, sister.
Right.
My sister Carolyn, her husband, they've been married now 12 years. Another young man and his wife told us Sunday they would watch our marriage. We have people all across the city, all across the nation say that they watch our marriage and how I treat him. I want to set an example for all the women that you can support your husband, but at the same time, your husband support you. That's what he teaches. And I don't care what I'm doing, he supports me.
Right.
He's always there supporting.
Love you like Christ loved the church.
That's exactly how he loves me. And Dave, when that happened, and I tell women this all the time, and when we do marriage counseling or marriage conference or something, both of us talk about this. If that man loved his wife like Christ loved the church, first of all, you got to study and see what that means. You know, there's nothing that wife wouldn't do, because that kind of love is powerful, right? The way he loves us, the way Christ loves us, and then your husband is loving you, the sacrifices he made for me and for our home is beyond measures. Our musician told me Sunday, he said, did I ever tell you why I came to Life Changers? He said, I started following you a long time ago. I said, no. He said, I was in my car one day and I heard this woman praying for her husband. He said, it was you. He said, you prayed for him on that radio. He said, I said, I'm going to check her out. He said, you everything that I would like to have my wife to be.
So I want to know about Dream Builders. It sounds like it's got a lot of pieces to it. Yeah. And so I kind of want to understand where that came from. I know it's having a powerful impact on the community. So tell us where Dream Builders came from and what it's all about.
Dream Builders, once again, come from my childhood. Dream Builders, right? I tell people I am a people architect. And so what it does, and greatness comes from my sister Carolyn. Bill Proctor called her greatness. One day he said, you're just great. I see so much greatness in you. So I added that name in there because of her. So it's Dream Builders Greatness Center. And what it is, Dave, it came from the fact of me seeing everybody And I feel like I'm this dream builder, right? And I can help people find themselves, help people not be afraid to fail, help people, the architect, they take the vision of the person who building something and they sketch it out. They go back and forth and they add pieces and they take it out and they do that. I believe that's what I am, a people architect. So that's what Dream Builders came from. I was thinking one day, that's what I'm going to do. We had a young man went to our church. He was an architect. He was one who designed a lot of FAMU, the Al Lawson Center, and all of that stuff. But that's what I felt like. So that's where Dream Builders Greatness Center come from. I'm a believer. I have a child development center. My sister Carolyn is the owner. She's the executive director there. But this is what I believe. You can't start when they're 13 or 14.
Right.
And because of my mom, she started with those kids at age 6 weeks. So that's what we do, 6 weeks to 5. And we'll build, as soon as we teach motor skills, we teach this, right? And then we bring them in our daycare, in our infant room. But we're raised, and how we see it is, we're raising the next leaders. We're building the next leaders. And so all of our teachers are older. All of our teachers are older than 50.
Okay.
Because we want to teach them the fundamentals, but we also want them to have that caring and nurturing feel to it, right? And then we work with the parents as well, because I believe everything starts at home. I believe everything starts at home. If you cursing and fighting all the time, that's what those children are seeing. And then they're gonna take it to school, and take it to the community. Right? Then they grow up doing the same thing.
Right.
And then we started the after school because we wanted once they leave us and they go to school, and if they need help with homework, we want to be able to provide that.
Well, let's talk about your radio shows. So Real Talk with Judy, right? Mm-hmm. And you've been doing that for how long now?
7 years now. Yesterday made 7 years. I started November, the first Tuesday, 2015.
Wow. Well, congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
So tell us about the show. What is the purpose, and what's the impact you want to have from having the radio show?
One of the things I wanted to do with the radio, I really want influence. I wanted to be able to influence people's mind, people's thoughts, their actions. Started 2015, and Joe Bullard is like one of my mentors, greatest mentor. My brother Chico been on the radio for 50 years. 50 years. He started as Joe Bullard's student.
Okay.
And then Doc D is my program manager now. And Reverend Grant James have taught me a lot. He was one of the ones I sat down, and for 4 hours that man was pulling stuff out of me. You're going to do this, you're going to do that.
Right.
And so with the radio show, it's really an empowerment, inspirational, dream-building show. It is to bring people on who can speak to this audience, speak to the audience that I have, and let them feel the hope or the excitement about, God, I can do this. Because my thing is, if anybody has done it, everybody can do it. And so I bring different people in. I don't do a lot of the political stuff, because that's not what my show is about.
Right.
My show is to build people, to be that strength, to be that Aaron and that that hold up your arm to say that you can make it. Right. Or if you fall, you can make it. We have people to deal with different sicknesses. You know, I had thyroid cancer, but God healed me to bring on, hey, you got hope. You know, and so that's what where I see myself going, like Oprah Winfrey went all over everywhere with the TV. She had a radio, but she was really
a magazine.
The magazine, all of that with Sister Girls. I went to Sister Girl with Real Talk with Judy.
That's right. I want to get to that in a second.
Okay, with Real Talk with Judy.
Yeah.
And I want people to hear it. The airwaves give me more people. I have over 25,000 listeners now.
That's awesome.
Because of the airwaves. Right. Because of the radio, because of their frequency.
Yeah. Well, tell people where they can find it on the radio dial.
I was about to say, you can come hear me every Tuesday from 11:30 to 12:30, from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. On Hallelujah 95.3 FM. Okay. They also have an app, Hallelujah 95.3. We also do it on Facebook and YouTube. Both of those, we do that on there, and the audience is mostly a lot of women, but now we're getting so many men who just love hearing it. It inspired them. It's encourage and motivate them.
Right.
And so that's what the show is about. I want when I go off the air, they're so much better. They believe in themselves. There's hope. There's a courageous thought.
And you don't even have to have a bag of meat with you to get people to listen. See, you're moving up in the world. You go without a pillowcase full of meat. So
right, I don't have
that's
to use
helpful.
I don't have to use the meat
No, not anymore. So you'd mentioned Sister Girls. So I know what that is. I see it on social media all the time. So tell us what that's all about.
This is Sister Girls. I'm gonna tell you what happened.
Okay.
So my imagination of what this world can be is so good. I think we can have so much peace and loving each other regardless of everything, right? And so with the election, I saw so many women just like, men too.
Right.
But I saw the women like I'm like, no, we can't have that. And so what I did, I had my 60th birthday. I invited everybody. And I started with the women. I said, I want to have a birthday party, and I'm inviting all the Tallahassee to come. I just want you to wear a black dress and pearls. So I had the party. First, I started at the room next by Harry's. It was too small, Dave. I didn't think that many people was going to come. I knew a lot of people was going to come. I just didn't think it was going to be as many. Anyway, it ended up being over 400 women, almost 500 and some women attended.
To your birthday party?
To my birthday. I just put it out there in the air.
Right.
Everybody came. Black, white, Hispanic. They came with the pearls on, the black dress. My mom and sisters came. My sister from Scotland came.
Wow.
It was phenomenal. My sister Carolyn got a band, a DJ. We had the best food ever. And it was so huge, Pastor Antoine Elwood opened his church for me at New Mount Zion on Old Bainbridge, and we had it in his fellowship hall. At the last minute, he allowed me to come in. Somebody got with him and brought it in, and it was just fun. And if you notice, I call a lot of names because I can't do nothing by myself.
Right. I
have all these dreams, but everybody got to be a part, right? So Sister Girls grew. Took it to TCC, it grew.
So what are you doing? Do you have a program or
how does it work? I'm going to tell you what it's about.
Okay.
There's no title. Allison Tant says she loves to come because she get to take off her makeup and take off her hair
and just be a regular person.
Allison.
Yeah.
And when she said that, it's like, yeah. And that's what it's about. I do it quarterly, different places, right? And we come together and relax. We have music, we have food, 300-400 women. What started is, I hate hate. I hate hate. I hate racism. I hate prejudice. I hate all of that stuff. Even growing up, my mom and dad, they taught us how not to be a part of that, how to judge people from their heart and who they are. And that's how I started Sister Girls.
All right. So want to touch on this. You're very involved in the community through volunteering and board membership, including NAACP, UPHS, and several ministry-related groups as well. You've also received multiple awards for your work from groups such as the Oasis Center, TCC, Department of Juvenile Justice, John Maxwell, and earlier this year, you were a 2022 Wonder Woman of the Year from Girls on the Run. So have you ever been recognized as a Wonder Woman before?
Never been recognized as a Wonder Woman before.
So what does all this mean to you? You spent your whole life, as we've talked about, serving others. To be able to continue that with different groups and to be recognized for all your hard work. And I know you say you don't do it alone, but you've done, this has been your life work. So how does that make you feel to be recognized for that? I'm
really humbled by it because I don't do it for the rewards or the awards. I do it because I really love it. But receiving those awards and rewards, Dave, I often tell God, thank you, because they get to see you using somebody like me to help make a difference in his life. And it made me want to go on. I was counting the other day. And I have 42 awards. I have 42 awards. But I ask God, don't ever let me think that I've arrived or I'm better than anybody. But it reminds me, and that Wonder Woman, it is a beautiful piece of art. It is beautiful. But it reminds me that you have the responsibility to help all these other women. I had Wonder Woman high tops that I bought about 2 years ago. I'm like, oh, wow. And when Wonder Woman, she put it on and turned around, she became a superhero who helped people's lives better. So when I'm looking at it, it reminds me, continue to help people's lives. Fam, you just awarded me, too, at the beginning of homecoming for community service and leadership. And to get that from my alma mater, I was like, whoa. That's what all these rewards is, that God continue to use me so his son work can be done here.
Yeah. All right, I want to make a quick pivot to fashion here, okay? You have more pairs of glasses than anyone I know, colors, styles, shapes. I want to know where your obsession with eyewear came from and how big is your collection of glasses?
As a kid, I just love shades, right? And I love shades, and I used to go, we have a flea market swap shop, and I would just go buy them. They were like 50 cents. So I would just buy them.
Right.
Now I have 520 collections of different shades, color, everything.
520?
520.
Okay.
I absolutely love shades. I even started wearing contacts so I can wear different shades. None of them are prescription.
So they're just clear glass. All of them are?
Every last one of them.
Wow.
They either clear or either I have the sunglasses.
So that's almost 2 years worth of glasses not wearing the same pair more than once.
Yep.
All right, 2 final questions, and I appreciate your time today. Judy, looking back, when is the one thing or person that altered the trajectory of your life to this point?
I had a cousin that was very dear to me. He died of AIDS, unfortunately. Balled up. He was 42 pounds when he died. Balled up in a fetal position. I was the only person his mom let see him. So I was either 22 or 23 when he died. This is what he asked me before he died. He said, Judy, would you please not let them bash gays and homosexual? Because he was. Mm-hmm. He said, would you help? And it made me see people a whole nother way.
Right.
From a different eye. Because I promised him that. And to this day, Dave, from that time forward, you won't ever find me bashing anybody that have a different lifestyle than me or that believe differently than me, because I promised him that I wouldn't. And then we all people.
Right.
And I promised him. That changed me from that aspect to help me now, even with sister girls. And some of the church folks, some of my, they don't agree with me. Doesn't matter. That's the way.
About being inclusive to everybody.
Yeah, I believe we should. I honestly, sincerely love people. I really do. And my cousin had me to change to make sure that I love everybody, regardless. And that's Judy Mandrell in a heartbeat, for real. That's who I am.
Right. All right, final question. The podcast is named How I Got Here. So we've talked about how you got to this point in your life. Where do you think here might be for you in 3 to 5 years from now?
3 to 5 years from now, I'll still be making things happen. I'm going to still be giving and serving this community, looking at my family, and we all working this together. I am a 100% family person. I guess you can tell that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love them. And I don't want to make them ashamed. You, Dave, for even having me on here. I don't want them to go back, she was on the Dave Fiore show and she done messed up her. No, because I tell people I have to serve people. And I want, everybody's not going to speak well of you, but I want everybody to know that I am giving the best that I got, right? And that lifting people. I just want to see so many people lifted and walking in their dreams and just doing better. And if they fall, I'm there to help pick them up.
Thanks for listening to the show. You can subscribe at Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a review. It really does make a difference. Thanks to my amazing staff at Fiore Communications, who pick up the slack while I'm working on these podcasts, and to Troy Bloom for composing our theme music. You can hear more of Troy's creations on Facebook and Instagram at Troy Bloom Music. To connect with the podcast or suggest a future guest, follow us on social media or email us at podcast@fiorecommunications.com.